Train to Success brings you the latest in business management skills right to your desktop. At Train to Success, we combine thoroughly researched subject knowledge, rich multimedia, and interactivity to produce up-to-date e-learning content. Our courses can be accessed by single users on CD-ROMs or can be deployed on any learning management system for access by multiple users over the corporate intranet or internet. No matter which option you choose, you can be sure that all our courses provide lasting learning value for busy professionals like yourself. Train to Success products are developed using international standards and are brought to you by Train to Success Interactive Solutions Private Limited.
The Corporate Leader. Introduction. This learning program will help you understand what effective leadership is and the essential attributes of effective leadership in the corporate sector. This program takes you through steps that will help in developing and implementing leadership skills in order to lead an organization effectively. You will also learn how to cope with change in the organization and to successfully lead your team through the different phases in the change scenario in order to achieve impressive results. You will learn how to A. Identify effective leadership qualities and adopt those for self-betterment and the betterment of others around you. B. Build interpersonal skills. C. Build positive relationships. D. Better your strengths and fix fatal flaws. E. Accept change and implement it effectively at the workplace. F. Identify how people react to change. G. Deal with people adversely affected by change. H. Create and implement corporate strategy successfully. Concept of leadership. The common belief that leaders are born has come to be outdated. Continuous studies on the topic have come to the conclusion that leaders are made rather than born. There is no denying that the genetic factor plays an important role and is a clear advantage in the making of a leader. However, specific skills development programs can help make a better leader. In short, it is enough to say that leadership qualities can be developed. It is only a matter of tapping your leadership potential. With dedication, effort, and practice, you can mold yourself into an excellent leader. At the outset, it is important to know that great leaders are defined not by the absence of weakness, but rather by the presence of clear strengths. The key to developing great leadership is to build strengths. Leadership is about unlocking potential, whether individual or that of an organization. It is not about telling people what to do, but inspiring them to see what they're capable of, and then helping them get there. Defining leadership. Leadership is influencing people to get things done to standard and quality above their norm, and doing it willingly. Leadership. Lead more, manage less. Empower, inspire, and energize people. Unlock their true potential. Great leaders produce great results. They increase productivity, enhance customer satisfaction, motivate employees to perform to their best, create high levels of employee commitment. Great leaders make a difference not only to themselves but also to those around them. They keep their focus and continue to build their skills even after they have achieved a required level of performance. They believe in the dictum, if better is possible, good is not enough. Behavior patterns that need to be remedied. Errors that are detrimental to progress should be corrected, or it may have a negative impact on leadership effectiveness. Studies reveal certain types of behavior which have led to ineffective leadership or failure. These are 1. Not ready to accept and learn from mistakes. If one possesses the ability to learn from one's mistakes, then there is room for improvement. Advice can be sought from trusted people. Once the mistake is fixed, one must not ponder on it anymore. the leader should move on. 2. Not open to new ideas or views. For an organization to grow, it needs to adopt new ideas and new methods to be successful in the business market. Failure to accept and implement innovative methods and ideas leads the organization to stagnate. Give people the opportunity to come up with ideas, energize them, and amplify their enthusiasm. The leader has to create an atmosphere to welcome new ideas. 3. Lack of accountability. Leaders who are not ready to take on responsibility for their actions or performance are sure to fail. Leaders need to be accountable in their dealings with their subordinates, their superiors, and also other teams of the organization. Responsible leaders don't hesitate to shoulder the blame for failure of their group's performance. At the same time, they never miss an opportunity to acknowledge the good work done by people around them. The leader may have to take tough decisions. He may have to terminate poor performers or push others to perform better. Keep in mind that it is better to be more effective than liked. 4. Lack of initiative. Leadership is all about making things happen, getting impressive results. Taking initiative requires the leader to think several steps ahead. He should be action-oriented, do things that will bring about a significant difference to the team's performance. A leader must lead from the front. 5. Inability to build positive relationships. No amount of talent, administrative skills, hard work can be an alternative for lack of interpersonal skills. Simple social etiquettes such as to smile while greeting or meeting a person, to make eye contact while speaking to someone, acknowledge others' hard work, not to dominate a conversation, give the other person also a chance to speak, make an attempt to learn and address people by the names are to be followed. Please complete the following tasks to evaluate your performance. The role of a leader. Great leaders make a great difference. Leadership is about unlocking potential. The quality of leadership determines the difference between a team passionate about doing things and one that is merely following dictated terms. A leader's role can vary and be effective in small yet extremely powerful ways. An effective leader is a coach when he encourages others to develop their skills. He helps others to identify and define the organization's goals and then organize themselves to achieve these goals. Effective coaching at the workplace provides a sense of achievement, fulfillment, and joy, which is beneficial to both the organization and the individual. It also has a positive effect on the individual's confidence, which in turn helps to bring out the best in the person. The leader is a visionary. He creates an inspiring vision, shares it with the rest of the members, gives purpose and direction to attain that vision. A leader is an initiator. He gets things moving. He leads by example. This reminds us of a well-known Chinese proverb, "Not the cry, but the flight of the wild duck leads the flock to fly and to follow." The leader's actions are in keeping with what he preaches. An effective leader should demonstrate confidence in his own self and in others of his team. This will help him convince others of his actions and ideas, at the same time win trust and respect. The excellent leader must empower his people. The most powerful resource of any organization is its people. Well-coached, highly motivated and energized people are vital to the development and success of any business. So it is necessary to harvest the creative and emotional power of your employees. The 3 general rules to empower people are to appreciate, approve, and pay attention. It is up to the leader to create a conducive working environment. To inspire and energize others, you need to be enthusiastic, inspired, and energized. The leader must communicate to others the shared vision in a way that inspires them to act. Getting people excited about their work is the key to being a great leader. Have faith in the capabilities of your employees. Give them more freedom and, along with it, more responsibility. Let them know that their efforts are helping the organization. Leaders must inspire others to achieve more than they think possible. Allow space for the creativity of others. Encourage innovation, experimentation, and creativity. Recognition encourages people to demonstrate commitment, participate, and make quality contributions. A good leader must be able to communicate openly and honestly. Team members should be kept well informed about plans, ideas, strategy, etc. He must be willing to openly discuss new ideas, new ventures. He must be ready to support and encourage in times of need. Must be a patient listener. It is a duty of a leader to build effective teams and encourage teamwork. He works as a facilitator, helping people to connect with people and people with ideas. He helps to set goals, make decisions, evaluate progress. A leader has to be an effective manager of change. He should be able to skillfully inspire people to accept change and help them move through that. For this, he needs to help them understand the specific details of the change and get them involved so that a sense of commitment to the change is instilled in them. Treat people as the most valuable asset that one cannot do without. This is necessary to obtain excellent results, to increase productivity, commitment, and also to strengthen the morale of the employees. To sum it all up, a good leader has to possess the qualities of the head and the heart to be effective. He has to keep working on himself persistently in order to be an effective leader whom anyone could look up to as a model. There is no secret recipe or formula to become an effective leader. It is a continuous process of evolvement through successes and failures. With determination and persistent effort, anyone can increase his or her success in becoming an effective leader. Please complete the following tasks to evaluate your performance. Leadership styles. Leaders use various styles and patterns in acting out their role as per the situation. This is otherwise known as the situational approach. The style a leader chooses depends upon his team's level of ability, willingness, and readiness to take on responsibilities and challenges. That is, how able and how willing team members are. The focus is on the team members, and leaders ought to be flexible. Being able means that the team has the skill, knowledge, and experience to accomplish the task. The commitment, motivation, enthusiasm, and confidence to accomplish a specific task or activity expresses the team's attitude or readiness. According to the situational approach, the leader's style depends on the combinations of willingness, readiness, and ability among a group. When the team members are new or inexperienced, they need a lot of support and encouragement. The leader provides guidance and direction to the team. The leader assigns specific roles to each of the members and directs them on what, how, when, and where to do the task. When the group is a little more responsible, experienced, and willing, it becomes the leader's role to assist the members in tasks which need specific help. The leader acts as a coach. He also guides and provides direction when necessary. The leader also inspires and encourages team members to maintain the willingness of the group. Sometimes a team may have the skill but may be unwilling to take on the task due to apprehension or lack of enthusiasm. In such situations, the leader uses a supportive style. He gets more involved and works with the team members in making decisions and implementing them. Here, the focus is more on the relationship and individuals' feelings. The leader acts as a resource person in this case. A leader takes on the role of a delegator when the team members are skillful, depict responsible behavior, and are ready to take on challenges. In such a scenario, the leader has more faith in the team and becomes an observer. There is no one specific style of leadership to suit every situation. A good leader should first study his group and chart out ways to tackle each situation according to the need. Leading change. A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. Winston Churchill. Change in any field is inevitable. It is the only constant in this world. You need to change with them or ahead of them to suit the ever-changing business environment. Continuous organizational change, a sign of growth without which an organization stagnates or withers. Great leaders can turn a significant change into a pleasant experience. Change to them is a source of opportunity to provide direction in times of change and at the same time to get people involved in dealing with change. They focus on opportunities underlying change and not on the problems that change may bring along. The first step in helping others accept change is to help oneself. It becomes easier to adapt to the situation once a leader understands his own reaction to change. A team needs strong leadership in times of change. The team members need to be provided with clear details of the action plan on implementing changes. People tend to react to change in different ways. Some resist change, some take time to cope with change, whereas others adapt to change more easily. Regardless of the situation, it is up to the leader to steer the members through the change process to accomplish the organization's goals. Ring out the old, ring in the new. As John Maynard Keynes says, the difficulty lies not so much in developing new ideas as in escaping from old ones. Doing away with old ways and familiar tasks can be difficult for individuals at all levels in any organization. Very often, veteran employees tell stories to new staff members about how things were better in the old days, disapproving the changes that have come in as not as good as it used to be. Clinging to the past can prevent an individual from getting involved with change and moving on. The leader can handle such a situation by being clear about expectations. He must frequently and clearly describe the new vision and the expected behavior to his employees. Another way is to symbolically bury the past to give a clear message to employees that it is time to look forward and move on to the next stage and to stop mourning the past. Yet another way to handle the situation is by asking the employees stuck in the past to try out the new ways. In simple words, some people tend to respond positively when spoken to them in plain terms. Along with this, positive reinforcement of vision, empathy, motivation, etc. also help. Be a role model. People working in any organization experience change in various ways. In changing work practices, working with new technology, dealing differently with customers or clients, the reaction may not always be positive and productive. A sense of uncertainty or vagueness comes to prevail. It then becomes the responsibility of the leaders of the organization to lead employees through the change process so that new ideas can be implemented smoothly. To be a successful leader of change, a person has to first understand the dynamics of change and how it affects him as well as others around him. He has to personally refocus himself. The leader needs to examine his individual feelings and assumptions about change. Since leaders are the engines of change within an organization, they need to be role models. A leader's behavior has to be consistent with the messages he conveys, keeps his word, commitments and promises, and demonstrates willingness, enthusiasm, and interest in what is happening around him. This will help instill faith among the team members to accept change. Leading change at a workplace is definitely a challenge. A wise leader needs to identify the tools and resources available to help him succeed. This includes guidance from personnel at the top management level, training or reorientation programs, and the underlying principle for change. The leader should clearly understand and convey the driving vision of change and the opportunities it represents. For example, in case of a merger with a larger organization, it brings on opportunities to gain technical know-how and marketing expertise that will help widen the market for the company's products and services. Where lies the opportunity? We usually tend to see personal negatives rather than positives in a change situation. A good leader needs to look at it objectively. Look for the silver lining. What learning experiences can be gained, what impact can be made, what contributions can be offered, etc., instead of looking at the obstacles through a magnifying glass. Don't dwell on the negatives. A leader offers the best he can in a change situation. Always look for the critical success factor. Setting positive goals will be helpful to be actively engaged in the change. Look at implementing change and leading the team through the change as a source of your personal improvement. Walk that extra mile to adapt to the change situation. Uncertainty will always be part of the process of change. A leader's skill comes into play in maneuvering this uncertainty to his advantage. Very often, when our schedule is disrupted, we're initially frustrated, and later we get absorbed into the new routine. We learn, we cope, and we move on. What is unfamiliar becomes familiar. However, when change occurs at the workplace, it causes more discomfort because the situations become unpredictable and uncertain, thereby causing a sense of insecurity and fear. There are two ways to react to such changes. One is to resist, or unproductive response, which is a natural defensive reaction like musing over the past, overreact or feel powerless. 2. A positive or productive response by putting in conscious effort to cope with the new and to be optimistic. A more productive response to ambiguity or uncertainty is to recognize that there are no perfect answers to some situations and to do the best one can under such circumstances. This requires creativity and ingenuity in order to focus on what is best for the clients. Make the most of this scenario by getting others involved in tackling the situation. The transitory phase, how to guide the team. Very often changes in an organization becomes necessary to adapt to growing competition in the market, and when it needs to adapt, the leader has to play a prominent role. He has to lead the team that faces challenges with learning new skills, dealing with managerial changes, coping up with lesser people on board, etc. The leader has to convincingly communicate the organization's vision, motivate the team members, and accomplish the organization's goals. Along with the vision, the leader needs to describe the values that go along with the change and the role that each individual has to play in affecting the change. The need to provide continuous information on the progress of events, past, present, and the future. Whether things are going in the right direction or not, employees need to know what is happening in the organization. It is also necessary that the leader gets a feedback on how the events affect the employees. A fresh set of rules will have to be laid down to cope with the implementation of changes in the new environment. In other words, tackling new processes with old techniques will not work. The leader, with the team's help, should develop a set of transition rules, temporary ways of working and communicating in times of unusual situations. Transition rules create order and make the change experience less stressful. In order to make the rules work, patience and understanding are necessary, and the leader needs to focus on the benefits and let the team members be aware of it. Change brings uncertainty and sometimes may be contradictory to the beliefs, values, and assumptions about the work environment within an organization. This may make people skeptical about the proposed changes. In this case, leaders with the complete involvement of employees should demonstrate that the promised outcomes are being accomplished. Progress, however small it may be, should be appreciated. One need not wait for perfection. Improvement actually increases the optimism among employees to adopt change. Success begets more success, effort, and commitment. Do not forget to keep the team informed about the progress on a constant basis. Team members should be held accountable, meaning being responsible and answerable for the total implementation and outcome of the new set of programs. The leader has to make this clear to the team members involved in the various routine procedures. The leader should also make it clear that any untoward lapses in execution of duties in the assigned roles will not be tolerated. Team effort is crucial for the successful implementation of changes and to move ahead. Another major concern for a leader managing change is dealing with rumors, especially during the interim period. after a change has been announced and before it is finally implemented and accepted in an organization. A rumor-filled work environment is an indicator that it is time for the leader to provide accurate, frequent, and honest information to the team members in order to bust the rumors. A leader can skillfully deal with a rumor mill in several ways. The easiest way is to ignore the rumors and advise team members to do the same. Another way to control the rumors is to ask team members not to generate or pass on baseless reports. Yet, another approach to tackle rumor is to trace its source and to deal with the source. Without the involvement of team members in making decisions that affect them, resistance is natural. A leader has to create involvement that helps build commitment. The leader has to delegate specific roles to each team member so that they feel a sense of ownership and get motivated to be involved in the change process. Positive reinforcement is probably the strongest tool a leader can use to support performance, especially in a change situation. Rewards make people feel valued and acknowledged. Regardless of what the rewards are or how they are presented, the leader has to ensure that it represents sincere and genuine thankfulness for the team's efforts and achievements. Helping individuals through change. However skillfully a leader may lead a team through change, he will have to face difficulty with certain individuals who are unable to cope with change. Resistance arises due to confusion about an individual's role, the future, lack of accurate information, sense of loss, etc. Anyone can experience these types of reactions. It is a stressful situation that they're going through. The leader then has to deal individually with such people, understanding them, counseling them, being patient, showing empathy. These can help apprehensive individuals to go through change with optimism. Another typical reaction is rigidity. Some people are too habituated with the work processes. They're hesitant to adopt new technical know-how and new policies. They withdraw from contributing and there's a sense of isolation. The leader needs to understand and recognize such behavior as a reaction to change rather than a performance issue. Be sensitive to how people feel. Try to study the psychology behind such reactions to change and how individuals struggle with accepting change. There are some individuals who find it difficult to see the positive side of change. They only see the negatives in it. The leader has to motivate them and bring them into the fold. It is his task to convince them of the positive impacts of change on the individual. Some people struggle to learn and apply new skills necessary in the change environment. In such cases, individual attention is necessary. Leaders will have to sit with them, guide them, and coach them so that they will be in a position to handle the situation comfortably. Sometimes it may be an employee's personal needs or family commitments that come in the way of accepting change. A leader must acknowledge the employee's difficulty. An effective leader should be ready to work through the challenges individuals personally face in coping through change. Let others know that he will be there in times of need. When an individual has difficulty in dealing with change, he's working under stress. It is empathy that is needed from the leader. Empathy can help reduce the feelings of frustration and fear. By empathizing, the leader is acknowledging that such feelings of stress and frustration are only normal, and it is all right, thereby helping them to open up and talk about these emotions. To empathize should not be mistaken as agreement. Saying, "I understand how you feel," is different from, "Yes, you're right in your views." The latter statement will only increase the individual's resentment. Listening with empathy gives the leader an insight into what the team members are experiencing. Keep in mind to listen neutrally, empathize with individuals, but do not affirm their perspective. Some people may be dissatisfied with the changed environment. Make it a point to find out the source of their dissatisfaction. Usually dissatisfaction arises from seeing only the negatives in a situation. In this case, the leader needs to reiterate the vision statements of the organization and to convince them of the positive impact on each person. Maintain an open conversation with such individuals on a regular basis until they are able to cope and adapt to the change. The simple act of listening sincerely can be beneficial to an individual who's finding difficulty in dealing with change. Change in any organization is first and foremost intended for the benefit of the organization. Using new technology, changing strategies, reworking of the organization, etc., are all designed to face the stiff competition in the global market. Employees initially see these changes as benefiting the organization and having negative impact on themselves. They tend to resist the change imposed on them. In this case, the leader will have to find the positive outcome for the individual. Involvement in activities that result in positive outcome can help change an individual's attitude. It helps to replace negative thoughts to some extent and sends the message of optimism. It creates more involvement and participation and channels energy away from non-productive responses. Not every impact of change can be predicted. Very often, it will be the affected team members who will first recognize the unexpected consequences of change. This helps to understand that change itself is not always perfect and immutable. Sometimes, adjustments and corrections to these changes become necessary. A mutual trust is built when a leader defends a team member's perspective in times when the individual demonstrates that unintended consequences are a negative impact on the customer, increase in costs, and quality concerns. To sum it up, an effective leader can skillfully take his team members through the change process with sincere and persistent effort to achieve optimal benefits to both the organization and the individuals, thus making the journey through the change process a pleasant and enjoyable one. Please complete the following tasks to evaluate your performance. Effective planning and implementing strategy. It is a desire of every leader of any organization to create and execute a sound strategy. No one tailor-made strategy fits all organizations. Creating and implementing new and innovative strategies to exploit opportunities in today's competitive market is a challenging task. Strategy sets the direction in which an organization will proceed, in contrast to tactics, which determine how it will proceed. Strategy focuses on the future while working in the present. It is a long-term concept, whereas tactics focuses on the short-term goals. It also focuses on taking actions to implement strategy. While strategy denotes doing the right thing, tactics means doing things right. The major strategic concerns are customer satisfaction, getting a stronghold in the market, at the same time to reap financial benefits. It is a continuous crafting process of creating and executing decisions, which involves observing, analyzing, and learning from results, and then arriving at new conclusions and deciding afresh. For the guaranteed success of any organization, an effective strategy and effective implementation are equally important. Strategy again deals with change. Any business leader must understand the forces of change and its effect on business. Depending on the changes on the business market, strategies will have to be reworked from time to time. Leadership plays a major role in creating and implementing strategy. Hence, the willingness on the part of the leader to commitment to strategic management is vital. Strategic leadership focuses on 1. Long-term prospect, that is, understanding the factors that influence the future and developing strategies. 2. The vision, mission, and core values, which are the foundation on which all strategy and plans will be built on. 3. Identifying and addressing current issues within an organization. Begin the strategic planning process. Search for a logical starting point. This is ideally founded on the organization's current marketing position and knowledge of the business. All objectives and goals should be clear to everyone. Outline plans to perform work in a logical sequence. Keep it simple and clear. An organization must develop, nurture, and implement strategies suited to each of the businesses it is engaged in. In order to evaluate the organization's present position, a commonly used assessment tool is a SWOT analysis, which assesses the firm's internal strengths and weaknesses, and the opportunities and threats of the external environment. This analysis helps in effectively formulating new competitive strategies. It also assesses how the organization stands out and has a competitive edge over other firms. For creating and implementing strategy, a thorough understanding of the organization's business mode is essential. This includes the facts that determine profitability, being volume and revenue, costs and profitability, and capitalization. Volume and revenue refers to the resources needed for the timely delivery of the expected goods and services. The price of the commodity is one of the most important decisions the management takes, which determines the total revenue. The basic cost structure of the business should be understood. A business with high fixed cost must emphasize on achieving volume sales goals. Those with low fixed costs should focus on the price. It is important to know which products generate profits, understand the clientele, ways to win orders, etc. It is necessary to examine the relationship between the profits and the investment required to generate them. The final part of the business model is a decision on how to fund the required investment. Short-term borrowing is required for temporary asset requirements. Long-term capital, debt or equity is used for fixed asset requirement. Developing marketing strategies. A strong knowledge of the business market is crucial to the development of the marketing strategies. The business market is influenced by several social and political factors that include taxation and laws, government regulations, demographics and trends, trade unions, and attitude of the society. The strategies created must turn these factors into the organization's favor. Important factors regarding the market in which the business works should be considered. Some of these are price changes, market sensitivity to products, market share distribution among competitors, market size and growth. Look for a growing market which provides opportunity for growth. Financial characteristics are equally important when deciding on entering or leaving a business. These include profitability and margin structure, capacity utilization, capital intensity, etc. Search for competitive advantages. In order to devise a defensible mix of product, market, and pricing strategies, and understanding the competitive and changing environment is a must. A thorough study of a competitor's resources, strengths, weaknesses, and goals should be made. One must be aware of the changing trends and the forces behind the change that may influence a business. A constant monitoring of these changes is necessary. Opportunities must be identified and exploited. At the same time, threats should be confronted. These can be identified from closely observing the market, the industry, feedback from customers, etc. Creating opportunities through excellent strategies can be considered to achieve the desired results. Potential threats are change in customer needs, other products, lack of sufficient supplies or raw materials or skilled labor, new government regulations, etc. It is necessary to identify and monitor these threats, or else it may produce negative results. Set goals to improve strategic decisions. Goals must be appropriate for the return potential of the business. The initial element of the strategy making is to select the business that one desires to compete. The strategist should determine the direction of growth and the force that will be devoted to the effort. The three essential directional growth paths are 1. Growth, 2. Maturity or stability, 3. Retrenchment. Each path relates to a major phase of any industry life cycle, and each has a different financial demand and reward. Here are the stages of the industry life cycle. Price increases are easier during growth and almost impossible at maturity and cutbacks. The number of competitors increases during growth stage and decreases during cutbacks. As products and markets mature, profits continue and investment requirements diminish. Entry becomes difficult in the late growth and maturing stages. Profits fall, business continues to generate cash at a reduced rate, and additional investment diminishes during retrenchment. Developing strategies to achieve desired objective. Strategies can be based on some source of sustainable advantage over competitors. Study the information gathered from the earlier steps. The pricing strategy must be predicted on both costs and competition. Marketing strategy can be defined by identifying geographic areas, market, distribution, and promotion strategies. Example, offering lowest priced products, providing products and services well valued by customers, providing products or services to a limited group or area. The practical goal of a strategy is to provide a customer with a product no one else in the market can provide or will provide. Prioritize strategic issues and initiative. Strategic issues should be identified and prioritized. More than one initiative may be required to solve issues. Develop initiatives and prioritize them. Work out the time frame for action. Simple initiatives will not need elaborate planning. When issues become more complicated, comprehensive action plans or even project management will become necessary. Formulate and implement holding company strategies. The holding company strategic plan gives the purpose of the business and sets its direction. This should be in keeping with the mission, vision, and values of the organization. The mission or purpose of a holding company is to set out the types of businesses in which it aims to engage and how they related to each other. The vision may be described in terms of number, size, and types of subsidiary companies it pursues, creates, or divests. Values define the traits of individuals or the organization as a whole. The strategic plan should begin with its goals and objectives, which include growth in revenue, cash inflow, and the return on shareholder equity. It should specify the degree of centralization or decentralization of planning and control and degree of diversification intended for the portfolio of the business. The plan should also address the approaches for allocating resources. The holding company headcount should be kept to a minimum, as it is an overhead expense. Strategic plan for a business unit or independent business. It articulates the purpose of the business and sets its direction. It addresses creating and serving customers, whom it will serve, the types or services or products it will provide, and how it plans to meet the target customers. Broad strategic objectives should be a reflection of the industry situation and the financial and human resources required to compete successfully. Strategic plans should describe important actions, tactics to achieve the goals and objectives, identify and set priorities for the actions in order to implement the strategy. Every action should be within the context of the industry situation and relative to the action of other competitors in the market. Effective business plan. An effective business plan may be essential to obtain approval and funding to implement strategies. The business plan should begin with a direct and clear summary of its products, services, growth, anticipated levels of returns on investment. The planning horizon could include a 3-year period, with quarterly projections for the first year and annual projections for the remaining 2 years. Business plans should be updated on a routine basis. One of the goals of a business plan is to develop a business model that reflects the relationships among volume, price, cost, and capacity. A high-level balance sheet should also be projected to estimate the resources required to operate at the projected scale. The interest costs and principal repayments for the horizon, taking into account any funding of new assets with additional debt in the planned capital structure, also should be projected. Lastly, the income statement and balance sheets projections should be supplemented with a projected cash flow statement. The projections will provide the information necessary to determine whether goals for growth, cash flow, and return on investment will be met. This can help to determine if changes are to be made in the business plan. The budget or the annual plan. The annual plan or the budget is the basis on which strategies are executed. It is necessary for every organization to produce an annual plan for the next calendar or fiscal year. It should contain vivid details of the required resources and the cost of implementing new strategic initiatives. The budget should be a result of the planning process. An annual plan should include action plans for the initiatives intended to achieve strategic goals, a marketing or sales plan that projects volume sufficient to meet sales goals, a volume or capacity plan that reconciles projected volumes with available capacity, a capital budget that appropriates funding for required equipment, an expense budget that projects costs of forecast volumes, financial statement, that is, income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement to establish financial expectations. An effective annual plan is integrated into the strategic management process of business. These processes include assessing the competitive market, the firm's strengths and weaknesses, identifying actions required to position the company. These link the annual plan to the business plan and the strategic plan. This is followed by a proposed regular calendar for developing these plans. Each strategic initiative should have a specific time frame for completion. All levels of management should be involved while working out the annual plan. There should be an agreement between managers at the corporate, business, and functional levels on aspects of strategic initiatives. Strategy implementation. Getting the right people for the right jobs is a key to successful strategy implementation. To find the right people for the jobs, the leader should possess the ability to judge people, their character, talent, potential. The right people share the firm's values and are competent. They function independently and take on responsibility. They are team players who interact appropriately and pride in their accomplishments. Understanding the strategy is essential to its successful implementation. The strategy has to be communicated clearly, time and again, to all employees. A leader has to be ready to confront resistance to any kind of change. Use communication to bring about awareness of the need for change. Commitment to the strategy is essential through all levels of the organization, beginning with the top-level management. Misunderstanding causes confusion and distrust. If communication is appropriate, extraordinary commitment will follow. The organizational structure should facilitate, not inhibit, the strategy implementation effort. Organizational structures are depicted by organizational charts that show management positions, lines of authority, and reporting responsibilities. It should be ensured that the structure matches the central aim of the strategy. Each system also should be structured to support the goals and objectives of the strategy. The main systems in an organization include communication system, management information system, planning and budgeting system, and the human resources system. The employees are the major resource of any organization. Hence, the focus on the human resources system. Some of the aspects of the HR management system include recruitment and placement, development and training, performance measurement and evaluation, compensation with emphasis on incentives. The culture of an organization also causes an employee to respond in different ways. A performance-based culture will help individuals to quickly synchronize efforts and find ways to support any new strategic initiatives. Require some flexibility in the functional areas. It is necessary to coordinate the activities of the functional units to achieve common goals. A culture of collaboration and shared values facilitate such coordination. Major functions include marketing and sales, creates demand. Engineering, or R&D, provides product leadership. Operations, delivers goods and services to match demand. Human resources, attracts and retains the right people. Finance funds the business and provides control. When more than one function must work on a topic, they must plan jointly in order to avoid conflicts. Having experienced team members in various functional areas will help enhance cooperation and contribute to the development of the next generation of general managers. Effective implementation requires the right people to do the right things consistently. Discipline and dedication are required to ensure successful strategy implementation and sound performance. Leaders have to establish standards for the employees and set the tone for the culture. The reward system of a firm focuses and influences individual and group behaviors. Highly motivated employees will improve the chances of successful execution of strategy. An open, supportive organizational culture should be fostered. Both success and failures need to be understood to develop new skills and systems to support strategic initiatives that are implemented. In this constantly changing global business environment, organizations must learn and change in order to survive. Planning and implementing strategies provide opportunities for institutional learning. To formulate new strategies, one must evaluate, question past experiences and current practices, as well as investigate industry and social trends. Continuous learning is a foundation of continuous improvement. A learning culture that fosters curiosity will improve chances of discovering the next opportunity. Allow criticism, institutionalize debate, and tolerate failure. Learn to face reality in an unbiased manner. Strategic management has to be an ongoing process within the organization, executed with discipline and built on learning in this constantly changing scenario. Please complete the following tasks to evaluate your performance. Leadership attributes. A self-assessment of leadership skills and qualities. This questionnaire will help you assess your leadership qualities. It will create an awareness of your strengths and also of the areas you need to work on. You can also ask a colleague to evaluate you and then to do a comparative study of both the scores. This will give you an insight into what others perceive of your leadership skills. Instructions. For each of the statements given below, indicate your level of the leadership skills you possess on a 1 to 5 point scale, 5 being the top score. A. I'm aware of my values, strengths, and weaknesses. G. I try to think out of the box, to have a clear vision and come up with effective strategies to accomplish it. O. I initiate ideas, actions, and solutions.